back to another drippy episode of IV Interview. We're here for episode 5. I'm your host, Shea Butter. We have today's guest, Paul Richardson. Paul, tell the people about who you are and thank you so much for being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm Paul Richardson and I love dripping.
Heck yeah.
I live here in the Twin Cities, own my own consulting firm. I work with community banks around the country, and because I travel a lot, I do the drips because it gives me energy. It keeps me focused.
Right.
Yeah, keeps me going.
Yeah, and today, you said you come in almost 3 times a month. I'm at about a bi-weekly rate, and I think that's when I've seen the most benefits is the consistency of coming in here and doing it. And today we have you hooked up to the All-Star, which is one of my favorites, with electrolytes, vitamins for keeping you hydrated for performance and whatnot. I'm on the Restoration hydration bag. With it getting a little warmer, losing a lot of those electrolytes, I wanted to get just an extra boost of hydration. I did the All-Star last week, so now coming in here getting a little rehydrated as we get a little warmer here. But tell us a little bit about the travel. It sounds like you've done some work in LA. You're now doing the consulting firm. But even before that, tell us a little bit about, you said you've been banking for
I've been banking
27?
for 27 years. I worked in community banks around the Twin Cities for 20 years. And then I decided to do consulting with a consulting firm on the West Coast. And after 7 years, I decided to do it on my own.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
What exactly is considered like a community bank compared to just regular banking?
So it wouldn't be a Wells Fargo, it wouldn't be a US bank. Those are regional banks. I would say, locally, like a bank Cherokee, a Sunrise Banks, one of those smaller banks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like, a big focus for me the last year is really supporting local and whatnot. So community banks, local companies, I think that's been so important to promote and work with. Have you had a chance then to work with a lot of companies then locally with the consulting over the last 2 years, or is it more of a national branding? And
I would say that once I went on my own, what I found was interesting is a lot of the community banks in Minnesota started hiring me.
Yeah.
But obviously they've known me for years. So I owe them a lot for helping me get my business off the ground and giving me work.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sure moving to your own business, the schedule becomes a little more chaotic, a little bit more out of routine. How, with the last 2 years then of being, owning your own consulting firm and going that direction, what's really helped you then stay focused on that path? Even, I know you're doing this 3 times a month, but then are there other things you're doing to stay on top of some of that stuff for your scheduling? And
yeah, just having a plan every day. I mean, I've been working from home for almost 8 years.
Right.
That was one big thing when I left my other consulting firm. I'm like, I don't want to go back into an office.
Yeah.
I like being able to go in there for a week, help fix a problem and leave. I don't have to deal with any of the politics of a corporate setting.
Right.
Yeah. But it's really just trying to stay on a schedule, because I
Right.
think if you work from home or you own your own business, you do have that flexibility to make your own hours, but then the work has to get done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny because my friends would be like, dude, you went golfing on Tuesday at 1:30. Like, are you even working? And it's like, I was working Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all day, every day. And they see the little Instagram story and they're like, oh, they're not really working that day and whatnot. So I agree, trying to keep a schedule and on top of that stuff. But getting the work done is the most important part. At the end of the day, if that's done, that's all that really matters.
Yeah, and it's also having a good work-life balance, which is challenging. I can spend hours on my business every day,
Right.
But then other things get neglected.
Yeah.
But, it's more of that mindset that if you used to work at a bank 9 to 5, that you had to put in 8 hours. But
Right.
if there's no work, stop what you're doing and go do something for yourself.
Right.
Clean your house, do whatever. But sometimes I still get in that routine, like I need to keep myself busy for 8 hours.
Isn't that crazy? We're so programmed
Yes.
to just we're working beings, go, go, go. And I think when I get into that mindset, I find that I burn out a lot.
Yep.
And I think when you don't have that balance, burnout sometimes lasts like a month for me. Trying to get the energy to get back going, you don't really understand what's happening. So how do you kind of notice when that burnout's happening, or Even like it's not a busy day, like go for a walk, clean the house. Like, what are some of those signals for you of like maybe it's time for a little break or to walk away for a bit? And
Yeah, if I just start losing focus,
Right.
really, if I can't complete a sentence, I know I've worked too much, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's funny.
But I feel like, I have one employee now, and I really wanted it, not to have vacation days. I just wanted basically unlimited PTO.
Right.
For her, I need to start taking advantage of that myself.
Right.
But if she wants to go golfing on a Tuesday afternoon, as long as there's no work, go do it. Because there will be work. There will be weeks where you're going to be working 60 hours a week. But take the time now, and I need to take that advice more myself.
Hey, it's hard to take your own advice.
Yeah.
I'm always telling people what to do, and they'll be like, "Shay, you're not doing that yourself, man." I'll be like, I should take a break. I should do some stuff and
find trusted people that know stuff like accounting. Hire that out. Marketing. I mean, if that's not your wheelhouse, get it off your plate. Otherwise, it's going to be a
Well, with your first employee, then what was kind of, you probably felt you needed to offload some of the responsibility. What's she kind of doing then to take over some of the responsibilities?
She's doing most of the consulting.
Okay.
I still have engagements, but I'm focusing more on the business side of the business. And luckily for me, I have trouble giving up control, but I have known this lady for 30 years.
Right.
Almost. So, and we've worked together in the past, and
the ultimate trust. And
I was like, she was ready for a change. I'm like, come work for me. I have work. So, yeah.
So I think for myself, finances are crazy, right? Hard to keep everything organized and whatnot, and we take care of our health. But what would be maybe one or two tips for just the general public, maybe on personal finance, or something that they should know about banking, or maybe something that you offer that will make their life a little easier around personal finance, or which banks to choose? I think it'd be good to give people a little bit of information on that side as well.
Yeah, I think you need to, bank local. Nothing against the big banks, they have their purposes, but I think when you work with a community bank, they get to know you, they treat you as a person. And a lot of times community banks are really big in reinvesting money into the community.
Yep.
Some banks even go as far as that you can allocate where your funds are loaned out to.
Really?
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah, banking can be very social.
Yeah.
And a force of change in communities.
That's an interesting sentence, right? Banking can be social.
Yep.
You think about, it's been so transactional for so long. Like, I don't know anyone at my bank. I don't know. It's always someone different that I'm calling.
Yep.
There's no personal relationship. So I think banking being social, and it's also interesting. I think a lot of local banks, they throw a lot of community events too.
Yes. Yeah.
I think they want to be involved. They understand that if the money circulates locally, then it's going to grow and keep coming back here. So
Correct.
I think that's a great tip. Is there anything else outside of that you'd like to tell the people about banking? Or
And I think that people think that banking is just a checking account, but it's so much more. I mean, a lot of the banks I work with, they have programs designed to help get the unbanked.
Right.
So maybe not a checking account, maybe it's a prepaid card.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I think credit cards and checking accounts and whatnot, that's all that people really think about, like you said, with banking. So, I mean, there's so much more going into it than what people see. What drew you to banking when you started your career? Was it just dealing with money, watching it grow?
Well, I think I've always loved money. I remember buying stocks with my dad when I was like 13. I bought McDonald's and Coca-Cola. Yeah, but after high school, I just didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And all my friends were going off and spending tens of thousands of dollars on a 4-year education. And I just started working at a bank. And by the time they got out, I was making more than them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just kind of fell into it.
That's interesting, because I feel like there's a lot of jobs where you could bypass school to do, and you're making just as much, if not more, especially with the school loans right now. And what's happening on that side of it, it's putting people so far behind financially that when they come out, they almost feel like then they're drowning them the next 20, 30, 40 years. If you were to say then, if someone wanted to get into banking, let's say they are 17, 18 coming out of high school, What would be the best way to go about that? Just going and talking to your local bank, or
Yes, yeah. Just become a teller.
right?
Yeah.
And is that where you started then,
Yep,
being a teller at a bank?
line, and then I went to the operations, and there was some new technology that came out that I seemed to really embrace, and then the IT department said, "Come work for us." So I went down there. And
What's been some of your most fun consulting projects or things that you've done in banking, whether it's just being in the community and whatnot? Tell us a little bit about the social or fun side that you've had with banking.
yeah, I mean, community banks, and I hope they stay around forever. But
Yeah.
you know, the larger banks are pushing them out. You know, and it just comes down the cost.
Yeah.
But
I think the saying is big bank eat little bank.
yeah, yeah. But you know, I mean, I do have a credit cards or accounts with bigger banks too. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm looking for the best deal. But
Right.
for my business and for my day-to-day stuff, I bank local.
Right.
Just because they know me, they treat me like a person, not just a number.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, which is always nice. I mean, I think customer service across the board has kind of faltered, and that's been something that's really supplied by businesses and whatnot. But what's been your favorite part about the banking industry, as far as, you know, are you seeing an impact in the community from your work that you're doing and that side of it?
Well, you know, not so much from what I do for consulting, but what I loved about banking, especially after getting into it at 5 years, 10 years, is finding banks that I've worked for that had that social impact. That it wasn't all about just making money. It was about giving back, or you know, educating people who may not have the knowledge of banking. Yeah, and getting them away so they didn't have to go to payday lenders and all that stuff, and just get, you know, screwed on the interest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny? I think one of the points you kind of brought up, it's funny that, especially for events, just the social side of it, some things I do things that don't make sense money-wise, but since it generates such a connection and culture and community-based thing, that in the long run, it does kind of make sense just with the brand building and whatnot. I'm sure that's almost tough for the people of the mindset of banking to do things that sometimes don't make sense money-wise and get out in the community and give back.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I'm a big believer in what you put out into the world is what's going to come back your way.
Exactly.
And I think these big banks kind of miss out on, they should be in the community and doing a lot of these things, and that will come back to them in the long run. And so maybe I think these local banks, you see them just really have that impact then, where maybe it doesn't make sense to pay $10,000 to run an event for the community. But then since they're trusted in the community, then they have a lot of people then that trust them with their money to do the right things and invest the right way and whatnot. Let's say over the next 5 years for banking, do you see any new trends that you think are going to be happening, or new investments that people are starting to move towards?
Yeah, to kind of maybe just take a step back to your first question, which I'm not sure if I fully answered, but what I find in banking, and this is when I started my company, I wasn't sure exactly what kind of consulting I wanted to do for banks. I knew what I could do, but when I really stepped back after I got to year one, I thought to myself, I know what the problems are with banks. The problem is processes.
Right.
They have too many manual processes. They rely too much on paper. They have processes they put in place 10 years ago that are not relevant.
Right.
So then they try to buy all this technology to fix it. Well, you can't. Technology is not going to fix your broken process.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I try to go in and, I guess, preach to the banks.
Right.
Some of them listen, some of them don't.
Yeah.
But if they don't listen, that's going to be their downfall.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're going to be losing money.
Right.
And eventually they're just going to be bought by somebody. And maybe that's their goal. Maybe it was a family bank and the kids don't want it, so they'll sell it to somebody. But processes is the biggest.
So you're able to automate a lot of the back end processes then, so they can run more efficiently, better decision making. And I used to work in software, right? So if they're trying to integrate a bunch of different pieces into one system, it doesn't communicate very well. It's very hard to integrate all together. So have you seen in the banking industry, that's the biggest issue then, is back end process has been manual for so long that it's hard for them to automate and catch up. I could see how that's a huge issue then, because I'm sure these larger banks, like that's what they're focused on is automation and efficiency.
That, and also what you're finding is these fintechs that are popping up
Right.
and starting banks, and they're totally digital platforms.
Yeah.
What's interesting is a lot of times these are started by non-banking people. They have an idea, a concept, and they kind of run into roadblocks sometimes because we're still, as a country, banking's still very traditional.
Right.
It still runs on a very even platform. It's regulated, and somebody comes in who doesn't quite understand that. They're like, "Why can't I do that?" Well, because there's a law saying you can't. But their idea to improve the system is great. It just takes time.
Right.
But yeah, definitely banking with a fintech bank is fun. They have some creative platforms to see and use and transfer your money around in.
With how it's become more accessible, right? Like I think back in the day, if you had to go get money and whatnot,
you can do it all right from your phone.
Right.
I mean, this is like my bank.
Right.
Yeah.
I've started using Venmo so much for all of that stuff. It's just so easy to transfer money back and forth, especially small contracts, like little money stuff and whatnot. Just makes it so much more simple. And I never thought that I would use that for business when that stuff first came out, right? It's like, hey, my buddy bought me a beer. Here's $5 back or whatever, you know?
Well, so even just getting your, to that point, you're in business, getting your money faster.
Yeah.
If a bank owes me money for work that I did back in the day, it would be a check.
Right.
It could be almost a week or more before I actually got that check and actually got that money credited.
Well, and the speed matters, right? Because after these events, a lot of times my deposits on some of the old apps that I used would happen 3-5 days after the event, and then I'd have to go pay my vendors then 7-10 days after the event. Where now with the apps I use, it's paid daily from the tickets, the invoices come in then daily. Then I can get my vendors their money immediately, and that way they're not wondering where it is. They have the comfort of knowing, hey, when I work with Shay, the money's coming the day after the event and whatnot. So it almost makes me as a business or other businesses that use those quicker processes, it seems like there's bigger confidence in doing business with you. It doesn't seem like there's as much of a liability. And then I've seen people do bad business where they just can't get the money to those people and they start, bad mouthing, it took so long to get to that. And so, not just banks, but businesses alone having the efficiency and the automation on the back end to be able to do that is a huge asset for them to know who to do that with, what to do it with, and the speed that you can execute those things with on the back end.
But after doing this for 27 plus years, I even get a little leery about how fast things are changing, and I don't want to be that person. I embrace technology, but it is scary.
Well, I saw that
you can move money in just a second and it's gone. I mean,
even there was a tech company using Claude, and they had unlimited data that they could use, and they forgot to limit the employees. They had a $500 million data bill for the AI.
Wow.
And so because those processes were so connected without the barrier stopping it or kicking in, they had access to the bank account. So as that data was being moved into the company for the AI, the bank account was just filtering the money then to the AI supplier. So if you're not educated or careful, I mean, $500 million on not controlling how much your employees use AI is pretty insane stuff.
Or I even, a couple of years ago, I had a bank who actually uploaded a customer's financials to ChatGPT to do an analysis. Great, I love the initiative, but that basically, their information is all over the net now. Don't do that.
I mean, that data is definitely pulled from other stuff. So, I mean,
But
I always say if you're not hydrated, you're probably not making the right decisions. So I feel like, you're coming in here 3 times a week. In my eyes, you got to be the best banker then around. So
they call me Banker Paul for a reason.
Paul, Well, if anyone is looking for banking advice, or if businesses are looking for consulting or other banks that want to work with you, where can they find you? Instagram, is there an email they can get to you? So if anyone's watching this, they know.
Some of those social media channels aren't really built for my type of firm, but I'm on LinkedIn, Banking Tech Partners, or bankingtechpartners.com.
Okay, so
Yeah.
bankingtechpartners.com. They can find you there. Is there a form that they could fill out then to talk to you? Is there a way that they could set up
Yep.
a meeting?
Yep. I love
Perfect.
questions. Questions are free.
Yeah, questions are free. There we go. And people need advice, right? So, I mean, to consult them on that. So, if anyone has any banking, finance questions, we got Banker Paul here. Go to his website, check him out. Is there anything else that you want the people to know about your business, banking, maybe any hydration tips, anything else for the people?
I think, if you haven't dripped before, definitely give it a try, and you have to do it for a while, a couple of weeks, couple of months. I know when I first did it, I'm like, I'm not sure if it did anything. And it's
Right.
not going to do something after the first try. And you have
Yeah.
to keep doing it for a while. But definitely, I fell in love with it. I
Right.
don't think I'll ever stop. I've tried, I'm doing peptides now. So I'm really, invested into my health because I want to not live forever, but just live long enough to enjoy what I'm building right now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's all about building quality of life, right? Like
Yes.
longevity is one thing, but quality of life is another. And what's been your experience then with the DRIPBaR team here doing the IVs, the peptides?
Just one, they're super friendly, but just knowledgeable. Right down to the IV, like I actually thought it was a needle that was on my arm the whole time, but it's actually a little plastic tube. I was like, wow. So
Yeah.
they're just really knowledgeable. They'll explain the process and they'll go at your own, pace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been a great experience here for me. It seems like everyone that we've talked to, they've had a great experience here. So if you're looking to take preventative action, take an interest in your health and wellness and invest, the DRIPBaR Edina has consulted both of us to a higher quality life. I feel more hydrated, I sleep better. Your experience with the peptides, it seems like you're feeling more energy, you're kind of getting
More
back
focused.
to more focused.
Yeah.
Which is huge in today's world. So if you're looking to take it to the next level, come stop by the DRIPBaR and Edina here. But for us, thank you, Paul, for stopping in, being a
for
part of the
having me.
show. I think a lot of people should come and ask you some finance questions. I'll have some follow-ups for some of my personal stuff. But until next time, you guys stay drippy.